Good morning, children. I hope you all are doing good. I am Bhavatarni Barik, your science teacher for this month. Children, I have already shared with you two videos along with the worksheets of Science Lesson 1, that is Pretty with a Purpose. I hope you all have watched the videos and understood the concepts like the parts of flower, process of pollination and fertilization. And I'm sure you all must have solved the worksheet, isn't it? So now today we'll learn about the importance of pollination in the seed formation and few facts about pollinators. But before we move on to today's topic, let's quickly recap the previous concepts we have learned so far. In the first video, we learned about the structure of flower. There are four main parts of a flower. The first one is called as the sepal, that is the green leaf-like structures which protects the developing bud. The second is called as the petal. These are the brightly colored part of a flower which generally attracts the insects. Now the third one is called the stamen, that is the male reproductive part. We can see it through an enlarged view. Each stamen contains two parts. The upper part is a sac-like structure which contains pollens, and the tube-like elongated structure is called the filament which holds the anther. Now the innermost part, the whole structure is called as the carpel or the female reproductive part. We can see this carpel through this picture. It has got three major parts. The uppermost part is the stigma, then the style, and the lowermost is the ovary. The style connects the stigma with the ovary. Now once this pollen from the anther come here, they stuck to the stigma. Okay, now we learnt about the different parts of the flower. Now the question is how these structures help in the formation of the seeds. So let's see. So the two major processes that are involved in the formation of seed are, the first one is the pollination, the second one is the fertilization. These two processes we learned in the second video that I have already uploaded. So let's see, what is pollination then? It is a process through which the pollens from the anther of a flower get transferred to the stigma of the same or different flower. Now, this process of pollination is done by whom? Yes, the answer is pollinators. So, what are pollinators? So, pollinators are the living or non-living things that act as agents of pollination are called as the pollinators. Few examples. The pollinators can be living or non-living. Some examples of living pollinators can be insects, bees, butterflies, moths, or even animals like birds, bats, lizards, etc. And wind is an example of non-living pollinators which help in the process of pollination. Okay, children? Now through a picture or an image we can see how pollination occurs. Okay, now as you all can see a bee, and we know that bee is a pollinator. So the pollinator visits flower and collects nectar. So why do the insects visit flower? Yes, to get nectar, right? A sweet fluid is called as a nectar, to get energy from them. Okay, now once they visit the flower or once they sit on the flower or the anther, the pollen which is present in the anther gets rubbed onto pollinator's body. Fine. Now this pollinator carries pollen on its body to another flower. Now here once it reaches to another flower, now what happens? The pollen gets deposited on the stigma of same flower or the other flower. Okay, understood? Now what happens once the pollen gets reached here on the stigma. Yes. Now what happens, like once it gets stuck on the stigma, they gets transferred through this pollen tube or the style of the carpel to the ovary. And inside the ovary we have some ovules. Okay, once this pollen gets fused with the ovules, they form seeds. Okay, so once this pollen gets fused with the ovules, they form seeds, and the whole ovary turns into fruit. So this is the whole process in which the fruits and the seeds are formed in a tree. Okay, now let's see how these pollinators or the pollination are important for the seed formation. As we got to know that the pollinators are the agents which transfer the pollens from one flower to another flower, right? If the pollinators are not around, flowers may simply dry up or fall off a plant, thus reducing the production of fruits. So hence pollinators are essential for pollination. Now if pollination doesn't happen, so what will happen? The fruits will not develop, the seeds are not going to develop, right? So if pollination doesn't occur, plants will not be able to make seeds and more plants cannot grow from them. So hence pollination is essential for farmers to be able to produce the various foods we obtain from plants. Okay children, so these two are very essential for the fruit or the seed production. Now there are some facts about the pollinators. Now as we know, the pollinators visit flower to transfer the pollen, correct? Now there are some reasons to visit a flower. So let's know some of the facts or the reasons. It may be the appearance of the flower which attracts them, or it may be the fragrance of the flower, or it may be the time at which the flower blooms. Okay, so let's study about some of the insects or some of the living pollinators. The first one is the bee. Bees generally visit blue or purple colored flowers. So in this picture you can see the bees are sucking the nectar from a purple flower, and in this process they are helping the pollination process, correct? Now next is the flies. Can you see this picture? This is a picture of a Rafflesia, that is the largest flower, correct? Now these flies usually visit flowers that are dull red or brown in color and have a strong foul odor. They approach the flower thinking it's rotting meat. Example, here you can see Rafflesia, a foul smelling flower pollinated by flies. Okay, the next one is birds. Birds generally prefer flowers that are tube-like in shape, making it easier for them to suck nectar using their beaks. Here you can see a long beak which helps the bird to suck the nectar. Here is an example of spider hunt. It helps in the pollination process by sucking the or drinking the nectar from the flower. Next is the moth. Moths usually prefer flowers with light colored petals and strong sweet smells. Okay. Next, bats. It may be looking like a bird, but it is actually a mammal, isn't it? So bats generally pollinate flowers of desert plants or tall trees in forest regions. These flowers are usually white, have strong smells and bloom at night. So these are all facts about some pollinators. So with this we come to an end of today's video. So we came to know about the importance of pollinators or the pollination for the formation of seed. or the fruits. Okay, so now I'll also share one worksheet with you. I hope you will solve it. So till then, goodbye and have a nice day. Thank you.